You could look for something like the LC. They could definitely just slam it down right here, try to go for that shutout play, but then you're playing LC into Bane. It gets a little bit messy once those team fights start, but I think that's an option they could definitely look for here. I think they could just slam it and they'd be completely fine, but that's also where you are playing Puck into Void Spirit. You are going to have to worry about that same Mule's timing that we already saw before. Love the Disruptor pick. Like it a lot for Empyrean. And the
And
Luna.
Luna.
Okay. They are going to ban out pretty much all of the offlaners now, I think. Hokori have a very easy time of telling where TOOBASED are playing position-wise, but this is also what I think is Boris's best hero. So I'm very excited to see him finally get it, especially with backs against the wall. I mean, they literally can't afford to lose anymore.
Yeah, and the Luna does provide a little bit more of that lockdown that we were sort of mentioning they were in short supply of. The Disruptor will help out, obviously, on that front as well with maybe some softer CC, but it will still be there. As Hokori, okay, coming in for the Darkseer, it's certainly something Vitaly has experience on, but a hero who kind of felt like he was losing his footing in the meta quite significantly, but it is going to get them that sort of team fight emphasis on their own side, and a hero, to a certain extent, you can maybe just park in that off-lane position against the Luna and just try to Ion Shell your way to some sort of experience in last hit Kane.
Man, what patch are we on though? This is a very, very different strat from what teams have done pretty consistently in the entire tournament. This is a huge change up from Hokori. Of course, it does make that tiny pick feel that much nicer because you do have that Iron Shell. He's got that little bit more damage to play with, and he's definitely going to be very obnoxious. But still, this is way out of left field for Hokori to run. They, even in their previous strategies in the tournament, have never looked at something like this. Of course, they are playing the counter pick game. They're playing like they have second pick. I think every single hero that they've slammed here has really been in a very good response towards two base. But at the same time, you gotta wonder, is it actually gonna work? Hokori need to kind of prove that this is going to be just as viable as a lot of teams have said, no, this is not good. So we'll have to see if they can actually kind of stick to their guns here. I can only imagine that they're going to ban out the LC in this next position. Yeah,
Yep.
it would have been the best pick. But at the same time, then you're playing for this carry that you're going to have to last pick into, unfortunately, now. And then now would Trout probably just not care about it because he's got ultimate last pick. At the very least, now you're able to ban for that safe laner. But Widge, what do you play? Or not Widge, Valkyrie, what do you play? You can't go for the Pango again. When you think of all the other offlaners in the meta, they are gone. Every single one has been banned out. That feels fantastic. We could see them rely on the last hero, which for a lot of teams has been that Centaur War Runner, but then you've got Centaur Weaver lane. It doesn't feel awful, but at the same time, doesn't feel nearly as impactful as I think something that Valkyrie desperately needs for his team because we have another hard farmer, not as hard a farmer as PA, but Luna needs a little bit of time. Luna, at the very least, needs that BKB before she's going to want to show up to these fights, and that's something that I think if Hokori are able to get another tempo-oriented hero, they have such a good lineup for hunting down these heroes. Every single smoke is just going to incorporate everyone on the Hokori side, and I'm a little bit scared because when they come running, you don't have that much. Okay, that's something.
I was thinking that
Something.
Sand King in my head, but the trade-off of that, it does give you some lockdown, it gives you some team fight ability, but now this offlane is one sentry away from nobody having any fun whatsoever. SK and Weaver together, like I said, if they have the detection, those two heroes are going to be copying a little bit more damage than I think that they're usually used to having to deal with. So that does leave a position where Hokori could try to punish that, but that's going to depend incredibly heavily on what they actually do here with this carry pick. By this point, TOOBASED and myself as well, we're kind of ruling out this Tiny in a position 1 role. I suppose technically it is still a play that could be made, but we really don't see that position 1 Tiny getting picked up much anymore, ET.
No, and I think that they picked the tiny puck assuming that the tiny's going to be playing a little bit more heavily in that mid lane, and you can't really make those rotations if you are a one position tiny. I think the most obvious hero choice is just Sven for me on the Hokori side. Of course, Sven Darkseer is a classic. Not only do you have the kind of wombo combo set up with the vacuum, but can't really do very much versus a Surge Sven. If they don't go for it,
There
nah,
it is.
easy, plain and simple. I mean, I think TOOBASE definitely clawed it back a little bit with their previous 4 hero picks. The Sand King is still going to be a big question mark for me, but Hokori have a old lineup. This is something you would have seen pretty much very commonly, maybe not the Bane, but 2 or 3 years ago in response to heroes like the Luna, when Luna was also just absurdly broken, probably at the turn of that Ag Shard. At the same time, Hokori, they got to prove it. They've got incredible team fight. They've got really good pickoff potential. And unfortunately, they have another lineup that is way faster. They are just going to group up, look for that 5-man, run around the entire map, and then close you off. Where TOOBASED, they are going to be resting on their laurels, on their individual performances, the NA strategy, where we're going to try to win our lanes, we're going to try to keep that momentum, and then we're going to play it out and then farm for our items. Will Hokori let them is the question.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the overall theme is still pretty much what we saw in game one, where Hokori are going to be coming at you very early, and you're going to have to be prepared for that, regardless of the let's call it a throwback lineup, as you were describing, very much an older style, but generally speaking, the theme's going to be the same. And TOOBASED, I think they're in a better position this time, obviously, than they were in game one, but you've got to go out there and you actually need to be able to hold the line for Boris, whereas the last time around, that PA always just felt like she was a few minutes or 1 or 2 items behind where she would have needed to be.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because now is definitely going to get active for Boris, and Boris is not going to come. He is going to come when he gets Dragonlance, BK Mask of Venice, and then we're going to see him in these fights. I'm just worried about how good Hokori are at looking for heroes in the jungle, especially once they split off from the group. The 5-man from TOOBASED just simply isn't as good as Hokori, so they're really going to need to do a good job of drawing their opponents away from each other, because once Hokori sync up, it's very difficult for you to actually deal with them.
Well, with that in mind, we are moving into game number 2 of this series. Hokori were able to take the first game, obviously, so they're up 1-0, looking for a clean 2-0 sweep to get themselves on to that next round in the lower bracket, live to fight another day, whereas TOOBASED, well, they got their backs against the wall here just a little bit. Lose now, and well, you're done. So they've got to try and pull this one back from the brink. We'll see what they can put together in a do-or-die match.
Yeah, and they're doing a good job here, getting out on the mid lane. Of course, the puck so fast. That's just really smart from Soul. Just, of course, you're going to be the one orbing out of base, but not just that, smoking them over. So this is such a tight place to play. And really, until that camp gets scouted out, whenever Annihilate rotates over, they should be none the wiser to place the sentry here. I think Empyrean might try to be tricky and could just place it preemptively, but at the same time, you need those sentries for bottom. So we could almost see a situation where, unfortunately, Annihilate doesn't scout it out, and he probably won't until either the 2 or 3 minute mark when he rotates for that water rune. And then if somehow you force the Void Spirit to go for that bottom water rune, then he's not going to be any the wiser for a very, very long time.
Meantime, though, look at this movement from TOOBASED. They are crossing over the river. They're looking for a fight early. Misho is presumably going to be the early target. He does turn around for the Avalanche. That's going to break up a lot of that initiation, and you see Widge continuing to get the right clicks out, but it's positioned for a Weaver. He doesn't do too much damage. Misho burns through maybe 1 or 2 of those tangos at the start of the lane, but overall, I think they're going to be okay with that. The runes don't really shift up at all. It's a 2-2 split, and we will get into this laning stage, and I do want to see Vitaly and Misho. They were very much active in the early stages the last time around with that Mars Rubik duo. Can they do the same now with a couple of heroes that, at least on paper, I feel like they should really be able to get under the skin of these 2-based heroes down bot?
Well, and you're not the A-listers, right? You're not a lane, you're not that Rubik Mars that we see so many times from Hokori, but at the same time, you're an Iron Shell Tiny who's just going to be incredibly obnoxious. You are playing versus 2 ranged heroes, so you do need to be very cautious when it comes towards that harass, but at the very least, Boris is going to be farming a lot under his tower. He's just going to be able to do whatever he wants. Empyrean almost wishes he was Bane in this game, I think, because, of course, this play never happens if you are, but really nice creep pull from Misho, actually. That was incredibly clean.
It's it all the way back. Nice and simple there, and yeah, they have to do these plays because you have a Darkseer. Boris will be farming up under his tower. It's kind of impossible to play the hero and not push your lane, so see what the Luna does here, just trying to maintain equilibrium. Catch the back end. Yep, back into the creep wave there. So Boris, well, some nice maneuvering early on as well, and this lane's really just going to be passive for a little while the cores farm up.
Yeah, and this is really smart from Boris. Not only do you get the full dime the wave, but you send 2 forward to catch the creep wave over on Vitali, and wonder how he's going to... Is he going to just walk it around? Yeah, I was going to say, it kind of feels like he has to take this under tower now, especially with the Tiny coming over, and...
Misha
Okay.
gets the courier snipe, but up in the top lane, Gardic gets taken down. Valkyrie with the just tiniest little silver of HP there at about 80 or 90 health, but they're able to get Gardic, and now, well, he has a Stormhammer, but once that's deployed, there's really not much else for the Sven to do.
Yeah, that was just really tight from them. Of course, you see both Widge and Valkyrie being level 2. They went on the bugs. As soon as they got that level tick up, I think Valkyrie also most likely had Sandstorm level 1 with his build-up, and then you just have enough damage. And it's something that if you're not immediately playing on the same level, now it's also being a little bit greedy with the skill build by holding points. Don't have that Warcry coming out for your boy. So I feel like almost assuredly you're going to lose the Bane in a few of these circumstances. They did establish sentry control as well, which is something that Gardic is going to work pretty hard to keep, as it is the most important thing in this lane, but at the same time, they got to keep on playing on top of this Bane, and there isn't much they can do versus this Fen unless now completely misuses his HP pool, but this Fen is almost unkillable in this situation regardless.
Still holding on to that point there, so, I mean, this feels honestly just a little bit sort of greedy from him. He's trying to see if he can maybe get away, I guess, with a point up in the cleave early on instead of the Warcry, but no one's really forcing this decision out of him just yet. Obviously, it did cost them first blood, but I don't really think a 1 point up in the Warcry would have saved Gardic in that scenario anyway, so he is going to continue to hold and basically play wait and see, and Witch and Valkyrie are pushing forward, but they push into the sentry. There's going to be the stun down, and Valkyrie, he's just got to try and go for this because he doesn't really have anywhere to run, but they do get it. That is a nice caustic finale, only the 1 point, but it's more than enough as now gets taken down. He just wasn't prepared for that much burst. He even had the wand on a pretty sizable amount of charges, but didn't see it coming until it was too late. And now over on the other side of the map, you see Vitaly and Almisho going in onto Boris. They get the Avatos down with the Ion Shell damage coming in, and this is where this duo gets very annoying. Once they have that vacuum, they can just keep you in front of them and in the range of that Ion Shell for so damn long. Boris really has no way out.
Yeah, and this is kind of nightmare fuel right here. You're just a safe laner, you're seeing this creep wave die under your tower, you get none of the last here. Unfortunately, Vitaly,
it's a very well-placed field.
Pretty far.
He's
yeah.
Dead. Alright, Empyrean just gets the drop on him. Kinetic field thrown out almost casually there, but yeah, if you're not going to back off, that's just a freebie for Boris. So Luna's able to get a little bit of revenge there. That kind of makes up for, well, at least partially makes up for that death earlier on. And you take a look at the last hit count for Boris, 24 and 3. So realistically, they're not putting much pressure on. This is kind of the downside of the Darkseer sometimes. You get your last hits, you push out the lane, that's great, but well, you don't really stop the Luna from farming. You just kind of force her to do it somewhere other than in front of the tower.
Yeah, and I was just about to praise them for pulling the wave back, for actually not giving them the freest time up until that point, but just the overextension kind of makes it ugly. Hard to praise a guy who just died, but they are getting what they want out of this lane, and Empyrean still needs to be very careful, especially if he gets the toss back here, but it's another nice kinetic field. Very well played.
Gardic's on the run here in the river. Widge trying to get onto him, hit him with the swarm, but he's actually going to go for it. He's going to Shikuchi his way forward, and I think he's got the damage. Yes, he does. Able to find the kill, so Gardic will fall. And meanwhile, now kept very far away from that fight as Valkyrie just sort of took a little bit of his attention, so no immediate response. But over on the other side of the map, there's a response as Vitaly and Almisho go in again. They weren't able to get Boris last time, but they can get Empyrean now, so this duo continues to just sort of poke and prod, do what they can. Again, you're not going to slow the Luna's farm down much, but if you can just punish this lane even the slightest bit, I feel like that's going to be
but mid.
A benefit for them. As yeah, mid, Almisho comes in. He needs to be able to get off the toss, but
no.
Oh, they still have the Avalanche and the Silence, so Ionilate's still going to die. That, well, was looking very fortunate from him initially with that toss hitting onto the creep, but they still got the lockdown to make the play happen, which now comes in to grab the rune, and Soul, yeah, you need to get out of there. He is very low on HP, so able to fall back. They don't get the rune, but they get the kill, but Witch wants to keep going, but once he gets into tower range, that's maybe a little bit too far, especially considering Almisho did still have the Avalanche. But now, well, Valky's left alone up in the top lane. Widge rotated mid to try and make that play for the rune, so once now and Gardic realize that, they go in for the kill.
Yeah, and honestly, on that Annihilate kill, you know how dead you are there, but still getting the kill without the toss damage, it just shows you that there really was nothing that he could do in that situation. But
Right.
this Witch hero, man, it does so much damage. Even though he isn't able to make some of these plays because his hero kind of naturally has that flaw where walking in between, you're always going to need to spend mana. And
Whoa.
okay, I mean,
And
now he's going to do
he...
this regardless. Nah, he's out.
All right. Now he can just use it to farm. It's all good. Yeah.
Yeah, he was going to do that anyway, but actually, with Annihilate, maybe?
Oh. Okay,
Oh,
Gardic. Yep. Secret Service agent comes in, steps in front of the gank, and actually, a little bit of revenge may be coming. They've got the Dream Coil back up. El Misho and Sol are coming in from the river. This ramp is going to be a problem, though. They don't want those smokes to pop too early, but no matter which direction they go, they might just get spotted out. But Omisho's in first. Dream Coil is deployed. It doesn't hit onto the Void Spirit, unfortunately, so really, they just have to try and go in for the Weaver quickly. They will do so, and Annihilate did still take a lot of damage. Oh, Valkyrie missing with the Burrow. Sol's got to just pop all that region that he can, and he is going to be able to survive that. That's a couple of pixels away from a huge kill for the SK. Instead, it's pretty much just a trade-off on the supports, and everybody walks away.
yeah, and it feels hard for Amisho to sometimes make these plays because he does need to be connected with that Darkseer, but okay, they're fighting on this rune pretty hard here.
Sol doesn't have the Dream Coil this time, but they are still putting a lot of damage onto Annihilate, but Boris comes in.
Oh,
And they need 1 or 2 more hits, and Widge is going to get in there for it. But now that Nightmare set's now up to maybe make a play onto the Luna. No, they want the easier kill. They'll go for the Weaver, but Boris is trying to make it as difficult as possible. But now the toss comes in. The Avalanche is there, and for a little while they actually forgot about El Misho. He was able to sneak away initially from that fight, comes back in to help secure the kill, and that turns it into a favorable trade for Hokori. They do still lose their mid laner, but 2 for 1's going to swing things their way. The problem is, what do they do about Boris farming up in the jungle? He's starting to take stacks.
yep, and really, they've placed the ward, they've done what they can, really sneaking from Gardic as well. Gardic is so good at placing vision whenever other things are happening, so it's very hard to tell when he does actually place a lot of his observers, but again, top lane, it's the Sven.
Valkyrie wants
They have
the
damage
ult.
here.
Now is going to make them work for it a little bit here with the wand, but
Perfect.
it's not enough. Yeah, they're just not going to really bring anyone in to support him, which, fair enough. Not really sure a defensive TP would have been enough to save him anyway, but as you said, very well played from TOOBASED to get the kill, and now they've got a very real opportunity to try and get this tower down early.
Yeah, and I think he makes that play and he stays up there because he does have that ward scouting out, but now, big benefit of the Sand King, you get to hold the towers for a very long time here. I don't think, yeah, they maybe wanted to look for a play onto the Tiny, just because he is still that 0 armor hero that's very easy to kill, but
Going after
okay.
Empyrean,
Oh!
one more hit, not going to
Missed.
get it. He needed the cleave, but the angle was wrong. The
Gardic.
he should still get this as long as he has the
He's got Static
vision.
Storm. Oh, brutal.
Brain Sap's in. The only problem is, Gardic had to give up on defending the tower to get that kill, so they will lose the tier 1, but they pick up the kill onto Empyrean, and then down in the bottom lane, they're actually able to pick off Valkyrie as well as Sol comes in with the DD rune. Didn't actually have to use the Dream Coil there either, so now, well, for some of these 2-base heroes, you want to be a little bit careful, and by some of them I mean Widge, because he's the only one still here. They could make the jump onto him, but I think for now, Hokori are just content to have the creep wave hit at the tower. Maybe not. They're looking in. They get the toss back. Vitali's going to not have the surge right now. Or not the surge, excuse me, the vacuum. So there really wasn't much of a play to be made. But now you got both the supports down here. Empyrean's TP'd in and Static Storm is at the ready. So if you're Hokori, now might be the time to pull back.
Yeah, and it's something that TOOBASED need to be a little bit careful about. With Annihilate showing as much as he has been in the top lane, it just gives Sol the freest time ever, especially if he knows that that Void Spirit's TP has been committed. The puck can just show up, and you don't have any counterplay, at least until you have items like the Blink Dagger, or maybe even a few more levels on Valkyrie. He still only has a level 2 stun, but that's where I think having more key players on the Hokori side is going to be a little bit scary. Of course, their tower push is not the best. They still have to wait, but oh, Widge? Oh, he just dies in the combo. It's so much damage.
Vitaly and Omisho strike again, but over on the other side of the map, they need to make it up to the high ground. They do so perfectly.
Oh.
The Static Storm is down into the Burrow Strike, and this puck, no way out just yet, but he is eventually going to be able to walk away as the kinetic field fails, but by that point he's taking too much damage. Sol will fall, and now Gardic is just trapped in that tree line. And there's really not a whole lot for him to do. Even gets his vision taken away there as they de-ward while they're killing him. That is a fantastic trade off. Hokori will lose 2, and now they're in danger of losing the tower. That's a big play from El Misho trying to pull the creep wave out, and I mean, it works, but it's not going to be enough. The tower will still fall. Backdoor protection just not going to be a factor there at all with the tier 1, so 2 kills in a tower. Meanwhile, Widge, I mean, he dies there, but he TPs back in immediately and will continue trying to act as a distraction that is attracting some attention. Vitaly's sort of keeping an eye on him. You see Gardic coming in now as well, so even if they could make a counterplay, it's really only onto this Weaver at the moment.
Yeah, and he still has to be careful. They will gladly blow a grip on him just to get him off of the map, but at the same time, that's so fast from Empyrean. He places the ward and the Static Storm in the same stroke. It's just so sick from him. But it's where I think Hokori's biggest advantage and their strongest weakness kind of lies here. They need everyone to get these objectives. They need to come as a 5-man group. They are going to be stuck with each other for a very long time here, and early on, yeah, that does not feel great in Dota. It doesn't feel nice to rotate all of your heroes just to get a measly tier 1 tower down here that ideally they get with the cart and they just get it with the darks here, but that's where Widge has done such a good job buying time that Boris has spent taking everything else. He's done a really good job. I don't think they've scouted out their triangle being as blocked up as it is, but Boris hasn't really cared because he's just taken over this entire topside jungle where he is farming just as fast. And looking at his item buildup, he's looking at that BKB, and that's the moment where TOOBASED can convincingly win a fight, where the Sven is looking at items like the Echo Saber and the Blink Dagger as opposed to a BKB of his own. That's your timing here for TOOBASED, where even though they don't have the best tower push, they have a pretty much unlosable team fight that nothing on Hokori can really stand up to.
Yeah, absolutely. Once they have the BKB, they can charge in knowing Hokori don't have the firepower as of right now to match up against it, but they are starting to get some of those items going. Soul picked up his Blink Dagger a little while back, and Vitaly on that Darkseer is closing in on an Aghanim Scepter, so that is going to significantly increase their ability to take some of these fights, but it still leaves the Sven looking for more as Valkyrie hanging out in the Sandstorm. Couple of Hokori heroes in. Gardic's going to get surged forward into the Fiend's Grip, and now they should just go straight in for this kill. They're even going to drop the wall and the Dream Coil down there. I don't know if that helps him get onto Widge as he's able to back away, but they were not taking even the slightest chance, ET, that they missed that kill.
No, definitely not. I think now as well, he had a lead in there. He used a Stormhammer somewhere in all of that engagement, but surging Gardic forward like that, that's just really quick decision-making from them. That's the only way they get that pick off at all, especially without a Blink Dagger on El Misho. But speaking of Blinks on El Misho, he's only 200 gold away from his, but this is perfect. Smoke up on it. Static Storm. Dodge one. Got him still.
Mid, Soul, yeah, taken down. So, they're going to look for a little bit more. They get the glimpse onto Gardic too. It's just the support's hitting right now because the Void wasn't quite on the same page. Not really sure he had the mana or the, yeah, didn't have the cooldown on the Aether Remnant. So, they would not have been able to cancel that either way. So, they'll let Gardic go, but you put the puck in the ground. That's what you were looking for. Third death on the puck so far, but now, Empyrean, he's going to get jumped in on. So, there is a bit of a tax to be paid. The glimpse will get El Misho back, and now what's going on here? Vitaly's going to get run at, surging himself away, trying to create separation, but if you're TOOBASED, you need to make sure you don't go too far forward, because the Sven is still hanging out nearby, but now, okay, he doesn't want to be a part of it. He'll TP himself out, and Vitaly will be perfectly fine without the assistance.
Yeah, but you look over at Boris, who has that BKB if he wants it. If he needs to, he can retroactively disassemble his Dragon Lance, just look for that engagement. Of course, he wants the Ogre Axe, he wants to keep his Lance on this Luna hero, but at the same time, that moment is coming, and Soul... Oh.
That's a weird sort of initiation onto him. He just casually walks in, and I think his camera may have been pointed elsewhere, because he just doesn't see Annihilate coming at him until it's too late, so that is a massive play out from Annihilate, and it actually gets Boris the kill, so your Luna gets an even bigger jump forward. The BKB's done, and now TOOBASED have a rather sizable power spike that they could look to take advantage of here. While over on the other side of the map, Vitaly and El Misho are looking for a target, but Widge very wisely staying out of their line of sight.
And that was your Blink reveal. on the Tiny. It was very simply just a Hood of Defiance pop from Widge. He gets the time lapse off. He gets his reset of his own, but they need to find their targets now on Hokori. It's going to end up in a situation where the little plays that end up working, they end up doing great for you. You also have a full Aghanim Scepter on the Darkseer, so you look over at 2-base and you are wondering if they're going to have enough damage for the targets that they inevitably try to kill, but this is really your moment where they cannot fight you on Hokori. Now is actually really behind the 8-ball in terms of farm. He really hasn't gotten as much space as I think he'd like to. I think mainly because the puck has been playing in a lot of the camps that aren't the triangle. And this is so smart from 2-base. This Aegis is their entrance onto the tier 2 towers, and they start taking away more and more space. This Sven, who's already behind tempo, is going to feel worse and worse to play with. I mean, he's got a really awkward buildup now, especially because he didn't disassemble or feel like he could of that Echo Saber. So his BKB is not only going to be a little bit slower, but so is that Blink Dagger.
Oh, this is the worst possible timing for Hokori.
Oh.
They get in there just as Roshan is being finished. Almisha, though, is going to go in for the Avatos, and they do drop down the wall as well. The back, though, connects onto absolutely no one. Boris had the BKB pop, so he's now going to come in with the Eclipse, and he is just cleaning house. Vitaly, Sol, and Gardic all dead. And, if you get that vac wall off pre-BKB, maybe we're looking at something here. But once it's activated, we kept on sort of saying 2-base could just push into the fight without having to worry, and I believe, yeah, okay. The Disruptor did use his buyback there. Empyrean maybe feeling like the Static Storm would have been necessary. It turns out it wasn't, but he's now here with his teammates, so they've got all 5 up and the Aegis in their hands, so they could really look to do some damage as they are trying for the tier 2 mid. Not going to get it just yet as the Glyph will come into play, but what's going on over in the top lane? Almisha looking for a kill onto Annihilate, but, well, this is still one of the downsides of the position for Tiny. That Avatos is really the only damage you have. Annihilate simply able to walk away, but now back in the middle lane, Gardic, that's a very bold TP. He's waiting for the reinforcement from Sol, but by the time Sol arrives, Gardic is pretty much dead. The DOT may just take him down.
Yep.
Oh, good brain sap,
no,
Widge. If
well,
you'd have just backed off, I think they have it.
Well, that sucks a little, but more importantly, they got Glyph during the Aegis. This is now 2-base moment to take an incredibly strong grip of this game. They've got the Crystallis also finished up on Boris. Once he gets that shard, we're looking even more into that timing. Of course, they still need to fix their lanes. Boris hopefully doesn't lose his Aegis up top here, but this is still all of the time in the world for them to make these plays, and we saw at the beginning of that fight, if you find the Darkseer first, he had 2 Ion Shell charges whenever he was actually taken down there, and El Misho, oh, he's playing with fire, but okay.
Force out the BKB, they'll drop the wall. The Surge, though, not going to really matter. El Misho still gets hit up. That nighttime vision for Boris coming in handy. He's able to get the Lucent Beam, El Misho falls, and now Vitaly, you've got to clear out of this jungle because there's still heroes coming to look for him. Speaking of which, Widge, look at him go. He is just looking to start a fight against anyone who will turn around and face him, as Vitaly, that's a problem. Gonna get caught out. That's a nice vacuum looking for the 2-man Cliff, but the hero who actually gets trapped up here is Empyrean, who can just TP away immediately. So Vitaly will fall. They lose Gardic there in the middle lane as well, and, well, bit of a role reversal from game 1. It's 2-base now who are really taking advantage of this power spike, and they are just pushing constantly. They're looking for towers, they're looking for fights, and Hokori, to a certain extent, aren't really able to avoid them.
No, and now is not showing up. It doesn't feel like he's going to show up for a good while here. Unfortunately, you look over at Boris, who's still keeping an incredibly good pace. Looking at the Daedalus next, once he has that, I mean, everyone dies. El Misho, okay, sure, you can make that play. I think hoping that he's alone there, because there are some heroes showing in the mid lane, but this is still Aegis for 2 minutes. They don't have Glyph for another 2 minutes as well. Those are synced up pretty beautifully. At the same time, though, you don't want to be forced into an engagement where Boris uses his BKB first life. You lose him regardless. And I think that's where... Are they smoking up on BKB on now? Yeah, they are. Sven's got BKB. If he finds that backline, be huge. But Valkyrie, he's pump faking.
Static Storm will be deployed. Valkyrie comes in, and that's a big target. If they can take the puck down, they got the damage, and Sol will be taken out. They're going to get Valkyrie in exchange, though, but look at Widge. Running interference on the back line. He'll take Gardic out in exchange, and now already used the BKB, so he's got to be incredibly careful as they get Boris trapped up on the cliff. He's inside of the wall here as well, so really he just doesn't get to participate in this fight, and now they'll look to turn. They get onto Annihilate, hit him up with the stun into the toss. Annihilate taken down, and Boris, he's still just stuck here. They want to keep him for as long as possible, delay that Aegis so that they can deal with him exclusively. And I think they've done so. Widge is going to get forced to back away. He can't come back. This is...
He's
ET,
just
what the
fighting.
What is up with this clip?
Fighting.
Between game 1 And now this
He's
cliff.
gonna BKB TV. He's
Yep.
got a BKB TV, but still, that is honestly
Okay.
perfect from Vitaly there. Just kiting him over. He gets him clipped up there. Of course, if he doesn't use his BKB to TP out there, he was waiting to die. He's just farming illusions for the time being, but they got Valkyrie. Even though it does cost them the puck there, they're just immediately able to use that BKB Sven to take him out. They were so aggressive. TOOBASED were so ready to punish that Sven after BKB, but unfortunately, because of that small play there, they just can't happen. It just can't work, and unfortunately, does give some of that agency over to Hokori, who are immediately hunting, even though they don't have grip. This feels like they're cutting in deep, looking for supports right now. They
They
could
could
very
get
easily
Boris
burst
again.
Empyrean. Nah, they can't look for Boris. That too crazy, I think.
Actually, yeah, okay. They don't quite have that damage, but... Well, no, they don't. Never mind.
He's got Daedalus. That's big for him, but at the same time, they got to circumvent 2-base timing there. If they were able to refocus back on that tier 2 tower, that would have been perfect from 2-base, but now they have to be a little bit more patient here, especially because if you don't have that shard up, you're going to need to look for a few more items now, and give Sven a few minutes to farm, and then suddenly that bad start he had isn't looking nearly as bad, especially if he's able to get some kills here. It's where that sacrificial role in the rest of Hokori's lineup is going to kind of play out a little bit better than them, as well as the word here.
Whoop, jumping in onto Valkyrie. Good play with the Yules, though, keeping himself up for now. The Glimpse came into play as well, but... Well, the Sven is pushing his way forward, but his Blink Dagger's still coming out to him. If they could wait a little while longer, then your Sven has that sort of double back play. As Courier, there we go, delivered it out. So they've got the Blink. They've also got the toss back onto the Weaver. Valkyrie, though, coming in for that initial play, but he gets hit up by the Nightmare immediately. This one's looking a little bit broken as Valkyrie now has to try and get out. The Yule Scepter will be used defensively. Needs that Burrow Strike, though, and he still had 1 second on the cooldown. And now they want more. They're pushing onto Empyrean. They're going to lock him down. Static Storm taken out of the fight. Dream Coil deployed onto Annihilate. They just keep on surging their way forward, and Annihilate is just going to get silenced up and taken down. This fight, I mean, we can hardly call it 1 ET. That's just a slaughter. 2-base lose 4. Boris just bails out when he has the chance. And, well, Hokori, they are really just showing no fear, despite playing with the deficit.
And yet again, it's another item timing for this Sven. They're playing around it really cleanly, not to mention that Elmisho, or not Elmisho, Widge, just so used to Elmisho being on that Weaver, just travels a little bit too close towards the high ground there where Hokori, and I felt like 2-base knew that they had vision up there. It's really strange for me to see him go for that sentry play. They had placed vision ready for Hokori to overextend there. It just felt like they were tiptoeing and they just got a little bit too close to that danger zone, and they didn't know about the Sven blink. They couldn't have known about it, but at the same time, they're just playing into Hokori's timings a little bit too much here. I mean, they didn't have to commit that Dream Coil until so late into the fight. That's the entire reason why I think everything goes so poorly, and Widge really, or not Widge, Valkyrie really needs to value his life a little bit more here. As soon as that Sand King gets taken out, a lot of that control is just immediately put onto the Void, and okay. Looking for his early BKB.
Nice Nightmare, though, to cancel out the channel. Elmisha now comes in with the Avalanche into the toss, so Valkyrie wasn't able to get that off. Fiend's Grip now is going to be deployed. They're in onto Annihilate. They need the damage, though, but now I don't really think he wants this engagement, but they may not have much of a choice. Annihilate very low on HP. Do they actually get it with the illusions? Yes, they do. Vitaly gets the kill. And they lose Elmisha on the backline, but they are more than okay with that trade-off. And now, if you're 2-base, what more do? You try to go onto Vitaly. They'll hit him up with the Glimpse, pulling him back into the kinetic field. That should be enough for them to get the kill. That is still very rough for them. They lose Annihilate. Boris at least was able to pick up both of those pickoffs, but where do they go now? Roche? Oof, 2 extra minutes, so timing's not really going to work out for them there, and they're not really in much of a position to push out these lanes either. Those creep waves are all the way onto the Radiant side, so you turn it into a 2-for-1 in the end, but it costs you one of your bigger heroes, and there's really no follow-up play to be made after.
Yeah, and that's where you look at where they take the fight. They get some good vision down. It's where Hokori definitely needs to either invade or smoke into if they do want to find a fight there again. But that was smart from 2-base. They know that there's no God Strength. That's the biggest timing that Hokori definitely can't mess with, especially because now it's still looking for a lot of those items. But oh, now are you
serious? They're going to go for it. They're pushing it onto the Luna. Boris pops the BKB as well as the Hurricane Pike, but they want to continue chasing. But now they see heroes coming up from behind, but they're still going to go onto Boris. They do get the kill in time. And now, do they actually turn? Empyrean's coming in. He's got the Static Storm. This is risky, and they are going to back off, or maybe not. Dreamcoil deployed onto 2. Static Storm is going to be there to catch out the Sven, but they need more damage, and they just don't have it. Now picks up a second kill, taking down Empyrean. Valkyrie dropping low as well. I Annihilate. I don't know if he wins that. Well, he does if he has help. Valkyrie in with the Burrow Strike. They're going to take down now. And now Soul wants the chase. Catches up. Valkyrie's silenced. No Yules, no Blink, no way out. They'll pick him off. And I Annihilate has 30 seconds on his TP, so he is just going to sit here and hope that they don't spot him. And hello, I Annihilate. They do get the vision down. Can he somehow... I don't know what he could even do here. He does have a Yule Scepter. The Astral Steps coming back up, but Elmisho is in with that tossback, so I Annihilate just has to try and run. And well, at this point, he is definitely making them work for it, and they will continue chasing. So this is a lot of time that you're buying, I suppose, but it's not time that you're buying for anyone. The other cores are already dead, so they can't farm, and eventually I Annihilate does get run down as Vitaly says, I'm done with this. He's got himself the shard, so the normal punch comes in, and I Annihilate will fall.
Yeah, and you did still lose the Sven, I think, large in part because Boris did such a good job there trying to stay alive with that Hurricane Pike, just making sure that at the very least the Sven was copying a lot of damage from that Eclipse, but at the same time, there's just not enough structure from TOOBASED. They die in pretty much the same exact area they lost their previous fight in, and Hokori do get smart, now does actually end up just killing the ward there, but that was also just great from Gardic. He's the one who broke up that engagement, Valkyrie trying to come in late with the Nightmare, and they still want revenge kills, but now has the God Strength again. It feels like you need to pick and choose your targets. You need to find probably that Darkseer at the beginning of this next fight for TOOBASED, but with Roche now being on the table, I can only imagine that the refocus is going to be there from both sides. If you can get BKB early out of either of your carries, they just have to forfeit the Aegis after that point. Neither of these carries can stay in the fight, and they're rushing it on TOOBASED, but I'm a little bit worried here. Yeah, I don't think Boris can afford to just stay in that pit. It's too dangerous for him.
He will very wisely decide to back out, and this is the thing for Hokori that is really interesting. We've been sort of on now watch on this Sven for so long, but you look at the other cores, I mean, they have an insane amount of money, right?
Yeah.
Your puck is built up. We've watched Vitaly pick up item after item. He's got the Ags and the Shard and a Blink, so you look at their cores, and then you compare that to anyone on the TOOBASED side who isn't on the Luna. I mean, they still have items, just not nearly as impressive for this point in the game. So now that puts even more pressure onto Boris, and as we saw in that last engagement, he can last a while, but he is far from unkillable. Maybe the Satanic can save that, but for now they're going to look to make the play. If they can get quickly onto the Darkseer, Defensive Nightmare is going to be there, but it's not going to be enough. They still find the kill. Vitaly, though, does have a buyback, and if Hokori want the fight around this high ground, they may need him to get back in, and yeah, Vitaly will buy back. They're pushing their way forward, trying to get onto Valkyrie as quickly as they can. Now they got the Fiend's Grip onto Boris. Meanwhile, the supports, they're actually getting just harassed by Elmisho in the river. They can't come in to defend. Boris is dead, and now I Annihilate. Run for your life. Just get out. There's nothing left to fight for there. Now picks up all 3 kills, and that is an easy Roche attempt for them to clean up.
They just get too close to the cliff, a cliff that they have no business playing around there. It's the dire advantage when it comes to these high grounds. There's just no reason to play on Radiant's cliff there, and unfortunately, they were too disconnected. I Annihilate could not afford to spend both of his steps just to cancel the grip there, but you almost wish he did, because you just lose Boris in such an unsatisfying way, and unfortunately now for TOOBASED, this is a very big timing. Now you don't have an object on that puck. The only pick they can look for is either the Bane or the Darkseer. Everyone else is just too tanky. Elmisho just bodied them. He just kept everyone so locked out of that fight for so long, and yet again, if they can isolate the Luna, then suddenly it is a 1v3. It is just way too difficult now, I think, for TOOBASED to find that structure that, unfortunately, heroes like Disruptor need. They need some setup, they need some semblance of target priority, and unfortunately now, Hokori just have this incredible buffer to work with, and they don't have God Strength. They could look for the fight mid, but at the same time, it just feels a little bit too disconnected.
Valkyrie's pump faking a little bit here, but I think the most impressive part of that fight for me was Elmisho. He blinks into the river. He keeps both of the supports and one of those core heroes sort of at arm's length long enough for his teammates to kill off Boris. If Elmisho can continue to do that, if you get your support just literally keeping half the lineup out of the fight, you are going to win that fight pretty much every time. So they need to do something. They need to take out Vitaly quickly if they can. They did do that the last time around, and it really was just the buyback that allowed him back into it. So the blueprint is there for two base. It's just a matter right now of whether they've got the coordination to actually make that play happen. But, well, they're going to be tested in the near future with the 2 lives up on puck. You have to assume Hokori are looking for that fight into a high ground push. So, if you're two-based, how much time can you realistically buy? If they could wait out this Aegis, I mean, that would be the best case scenario for them, really. But from the way Hokori are grouped up here, I truly doubt that that's an actual possibility.
Hokori, they might not even be looking to hit up. They just want to kill their opponents. They just want to brutalize them and get all of these outer towers in control, because they know the only way I think they lose this game is if Boris gets maybe another 2 items here. If you get something like a butterfly, then this game looks a lot more difficult for this Sven to actually stick on his target. But it's also where that Darkseer has almost a phantom benefit, because the Luna doesn't have a Scotty, and you blink for 1 second and suddenly your tier 3 top is just eviscerated. It's a lot of damage. Do they have to BKB it? Oh, he doesn't.
Oh, Nightmare comes in. BKB is deployed, but they still get the kill. Boris is able to make it happen. They're in onto Omisho now as well, trying to keep him from getting away. Now Boris picks up both. That just felt like waiting way too long on that BKB. By the time he gets it off, he's lost about 90% of his HP, and all of a sudden, well, if you're Hokori, you can't really go back in again. The Sven's down for 70 seconds, so I mentioned earlier, if you're two-based, you weren't realistically going to be able to wait out that Aegis. Maybe they can now. There's only 2 minutes left on the timer.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder. The puck, of course, you want the Aegis. You don't want to be that target. If you get Blink Burrow struck, then you probably are going to die. But until this point, Hokori have done such a good job of scouting out Valkyrie that not having that Aegis on your Sven hitting the tower, I mean, the fight looks completely different if only they get an Aegis there. But now, everything is now in two-base hand. It feels like now the pressure is completely swapped. They might just get glyphed here, so the pressure could cease very soon, especially if we get some of these waves just pushed out from Soul. But at the same time, they just did not respect the Annihilate there on the Remnant. There's no universe where now doesn't BKB that. That was just so greedy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he was just underestimating how far two-base were willing to go there, and he pays for it pretty spectacularly. Good news, at least, is that they don't quite lose that tier 3 tower. So, tower remains. Two-base weren't quite able to make it happen, but, well, they chip away at the deficit once again, trying to swing this back towards even, and how much time left on that Aegis? 55 seconds. So, they could just sit back, wait it out. Soul won't have that second life. He will have a Deso, however, so we are seeing that right-click build from the puck. Obviously, when you get the phase shift attack talent, that kind of gives away the game, but now the damage is starting to come into focus as they are going to make the jump onto Widge. He snaps the coil, but Valkyrie in with the burrow onto 2, but look at Vitali in with the, oh my god, the full back combo, getting Widge down. Boris is now low in HP as well, but the Satanic is going to be there, but not for long. He gets hit up by the Fiend's Grip, but that's just not enough to matter. But now he's still looking to push for this. They've got Soul back in as the Aegis does get him back up and into the fight, and that's going to be enough for them to take Boris down. So the Luna's out of the fight, no buyback available. The fight continues, though, as now will be taken out. Annihilate and Widge really trying to hold the line here, now looking to get onto Puck, who doesn't have that second life to work with, as the Yules prevents him from jumping away to the orb. Can he get the blink off? That is a TP that I don't even think Soul thought was going to finish. That was a very weird decision on his part. He does pay for it, and now Gartic very nearly caught out as well. But if you're two-based, I mean, you lose the Luna, you have to commit a couple of buybacks, but this is another momentum swing, because Hokori, that was the move they were hoping to make to reestablish control, and it very clearly doesn't.
And hey, it's 2 buybacks. You still end up losing the Luna, so you don't get that immediate pressure back onto your buildings. At the very least, I think this tier 3 mid is probably just going to be forfeit, just on kind of the fact that it's 90 HP. Yeah, it's all the way back here. But at the same time, just another well-executed fight. And if they can force Hokori to chase them, that is perfect. That was such an early BKB from this Sven that was already spent on the Luna, who was assuredly dead. But that's also Boris catching them off guard with the Satanic. Just disassembled his Mask of Madness, had that in an opportunity where it took so long to actually kill that Luna. She was so close to getting bursted out, but double buybacks, you're not going to get a Raxer. Maybe you get the range. It's still not the worst situation for Hokori, but more and more time that this Luna's been able to build up, and I mean, now the Sven has just eaten 2 incredibly nasty deaths where he just gets to do nothing and just has to sit for 2 or 3 minutes where he's not farming.
And this is the problem with the build that he's gone for here. He's got a Silver Edge. He's working towards a Swift Blink, but it sounds weird to say on a Sven just because of the nature of the hero, but this is almost a kind of glass cannon-y sort of build. His durability outside the BKB really just isn't there, so...
Same HP as Luna. Same HP as Luna. And you don't want that in the normal game. And unfortunately, that's also where Boris just caught him. What, maybe 10 minutes ago, there was a 5,000 net worth gap between the Sven and the Luna based off those team fights. I think Hokori are just getting a little bit sloppy in their execution. Of course, they can always decide to change that, to look for some of these plays, but with those two team fights going two-based way, all of the controls their side. There are no words on the map for Hokori. They're going to probably play something here, but... Oh, Valkyrie.
He missed, but they're still looking for it. Valkyrie wants the ult, but it actually gets canceled. The Fiend's Grip is now there as well, but very nice time-lapse play from Widge. Nightmare's still going to be used, so Valkyrie still can't get off the ult, but that is going to reset the fight. Annihilate's able to find the kill, but over on the backline now, he actually jumped in onto Empyrean first. Now he's trying to get the break onto Boris, but there's going to be that Satanic still coming into play. Now does not win this fight. He needs to be able to hold out, but with Valkyrie coming back in with the Epicenter, the Sven, hold up, not dead yet, but there's the Burrow making the difference. Boris still fighting. They need to be able to bring him down. They will finally get the kill, but it's just costing so much for them, and now Soul is stuck inside of the static. He's not going to be able to survive it, and TOOBASED win the fight. It does cost them all of their core heroes, so Empyrean and Widge are the last ones standing, but I mean, you take a look at what goes down there. There's a dieback on the Darkseer. They still come away with more gold. The only issue is, I mean, how much can these two really do against the Rax? Widge is certainly giving it an attempt, but the Support Weaver is only going to be able to do so much. He's just kind of hacking away at it, but with the Creep Wave coming in, Amisho is going to be hard-pressed to, yeah, do anything here. Okay.
I mean, what a bloodbath. Everyone just dies in this game. And it's so well-timed from Valkyrie to be able to get that damage in. It's such a last-ditch effort from the Sven as well, getting that Stormhammer. At first, it looked like the Sven was going to right-click 2 or 3 more times and then just kill everyone. And then suddenly this game looks awful for TOOBASED. But somehow the magic damage just pulls them through. This game just continues to give. And at the very least, this Roche fight is going to be incredibly even. Nobody has those incredibly strong timings anymore in this game. We're really looking towards that later stage where suddenly everything starts to even out. And of course, buyback status aside, everyone's probably going to prepare for that fight. But this Weaver is so obnoxious. You just don't simply get the kills that you're expecting to get. He doesn't even have the shard on Widge, but he's level 23. Being the sole survivor of that fight definitely pays dividends. He's going to be 25 soon. Of course, it doesn't matter the most for Support Weaver, but at the same time, this hero's just so effective. He's so efficient. And Aesthetics Cap, I mean, that's huge.
Big pick up there. He's holding on to it himself, and now...
Oh, do you want this?
Limbs?
Oh, no.
This is weird. Yeah, they're TPing in, but there's going to be the Swift Blink. Empyrean did not see it coming. He's already dead. Widge dropping low as well. They're going to be able to not bring him down, actually, as the time-lapse does come through. While Annihilate was quick to jump in onto the Gardic Bane. He's looking for more. They're getting in onto Amisho. They're going to be able to find that kill. Now, all of a sudden, if you're Soul, you might want to look about falling back, but he's actually going to pop the Dream Coil, but there's no one here to help him. Now he's actually going in onto the Fiend's Grip Luna. They'll take Boris down. And all of a sudden, if you're TOOBASED, you need to try and get away. But Widge, going to have his TP canceled. Normal Punch comes in. Silence will be deployed, looking for that lockdown. The Ascetic Cap can only do so much, as Widge will still fall. Annihilate at least was able to fall back. And Boris, he bought back. I'm not sure he necessarily needed to, looking at the timer on Roshan. 35 seconds left, but not willing to take the chance. But now, if you're Hokori, you know what needs to be done. Boris has bought back. Kill him again. And this is going to be an absolute disaster for TOOBASED to work with.
Yep. The win condition presents itself, and I mean, TOOBASED, they had such a good idea going forward here, but...
Does Valkyrie have the shard? Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does have it finally, but yet again, they just get a little bit too close towards Hokori's vision. It's how they've been losing these fights, but okay.
They're onto the Sven. Can they lock him down? Defensive Nightmare's going to be there, but it won't be enough. Now it's dead. Annihilate gets the kill, and all of a sudden, the tables turn. That ward, as you point out, just getting them all the vision in the world, and that's a Sven. He has no buyback.
Is he going to buy? Nope. And
he's 700 gold short.
Oh, they're taking the fight?
Okay. Can they actually do this, though? They haven't taken Valkyrie out yet. Soul is doing all the damage he can. Amisha now in with the Avatos, but they still haven't taken it down. The Sand King continues to stand. Vitali's the one who actually dies. Soul now has to get away as well, as he has no HP to work with. So if you're Hokori, at this point it feels like the name of the game is just to try and buy time, but they are going to be losing some heroes. Gardic is He has to be dead here. There's absolutely no way. He's trying to get out, but Annihilate is going to lock him down. Omisho, though, still looking for the fight. Gets the Avalanche into the Echo Saber hits, and well, they bring Annihilate down. That's going to be another buyback in, as the Void Spirit does not want to give up on this. Roshan has now respawned, and I think they can get it. Boris might just be able to do it by himself. No one dead on the side of Hokori has their buyback available, so the window is there, and Boris should be able to bring it down. That's a very costly maneuver into the Roche Pit, but if they can get the goodies here from Roshan, Aegis Cheese, and a Refresher Shard, then that may very well be enough to finally push back onto their opponent's high ground.
And really, the game looks as messy and chaotic as it is just because both teams just have these huge lapses in their vision. It feels like none of the control that they actually end up getting is mattering because you're either immediately dying to an Avatos combo or you're dying to Burrow Strike Aether Remnant. It feels like the few times vision has been slipping past these supports, it just means the world. It's the immediate BKBs, it's everyone dying before they get anything off. It's such a weird game. This game is insane, as well as everybody just buying back really unprovoked in a lot of these situations. At the very least, I'm looking at Omisho. Omisho is so farmed on this Tiny. He's got an Orchid. It's just crazy. He's the one getting a lot of these kills in the same vein that this Weaver has just been getting whatever he wants whenever he's not getting picked off in these fights. But now everything's going to even out with this Aegis. We're probably going to see a hard reset from both of these teams. Could very likely see TOOBASED just run at the enemy team's high ground, especially if that God Strength gets committed. But if you ever force out this ultimate from the Sven, that's TOOBASED go time. If they get Glyph afterwards, then we could very likely see them just trying to win the game. And Soul needs more damage.
What is going on here? He's going to be able to get himself out at least, but...
Does he have vision with the Yules? Oh.
Maybe a second away from getting that Yules play down. So Soul... I don't know about that one. That was insanely risky. He's at least able to get out. Meanwhile, the Sven needs to fall back. Widge is scouting him, and taking a look at now, this build is still so very strange to me. We talked about it earlier, the fact that his durability isn't quite where you would expect for the Sven, and he's not really doing anything to immediately alleviate that concern. He's got himself a Refresher queued up. Meanwhile, on the other side, Boris, he just picked up a Butterfly, so... how do you really hit him consistently with this itemization, both from now and from Soul for that matter?
Yeah, and you take a look at Boris's build, I completely believe in him getting a second Butterfly here because the big issue with this Sven pick, and sometimes you get put in these positions because your opponents are just playing smart, you don't have enough item slots to play this game right now. If you get the second Butterfly, you have no rebuttal. Oh, he found him!
He caught him. The puck has to use the BKB. Now the Dream Coil actually coming in. Now he wants it. He's pushing in. They got the Fiend's Grip on Annihilate dead. Valkyrie dead as well. Boris, well, he's still standing, but there's going to be the normal punch coming in. They get the wall into the vacuum, so they're going to be able to create that illusion. And Boris, it's time to back off. Force Staff from himself and from Empyrean will allow him to make the retreat. That is a massive play from Hokori, and they're not done. They caught Empyrean on the back end. And Empyrean doesn't have buyback. Neither does I Annihilate, so... oh, this has gotten very awkward.
Do they fight with the DD? They don't have any wards to place. Oh, they want to find these heroes.
Valkyrie, he's thinking about it, but Boris actually gets hit up first. If they can take him down, that's going to be the first life out, but they don't have the damage just yet. The back throw's going to pull him up onto the high ground once again, but Boris healing up. Satanic doing its work. Now is the one who's going to get hit. He does get off that Stormhammer, but it's not going to be enough. Now will fall in the fight. Starting to break apart. They'll turn on the Soul as well. They get the secondary kill, and now they're looking for a third. Vitali trying to surge himself, but the Yules is going to remove that. Nightmare, though, coming out into Boris means they don't have their full damage complement, but they are still trying for it. Don't know how much further they want to go on Valkyrie, though. He doesn't have a whole lot of HP, but considering the fact that Vitali's just not fighting, I think they're going to be able to get that Gardic kill. But Omisho, he just broke off entirely to track down Widge. He does get the kill, but I'm not really sure how much that does to reset the situation. At least the time-lapse won't be available, but Hokori, they pushed their way down mid. I just feel they went too far. They didn't have confirmed vision over Valkyrie, who was just hiding on that back line, and at this point, I mean, the old adage, right? If you go for the king, you best not miss, right? If you can't kill Boris in one go, they can't afford to try. You saw what happened. He just turns around and tears through them.
Yep. And now I think he's going to be too scared to go to this high ground, and I completely agree with him. But this is the first situation where one of the few survivors of the team fight has been a carry. So at the very least, Boris is just going to be able to farm up towards that next item. If he can slot this Aegis with the second butterfly, that'd just be awesome. That'd just be fabulous for him, because again, this Fenn's great if he can hit, and he's already got the MKB queued up in his back pocket here, and of course now he's going to be able to farm it very quickly if he's ever able to touch a creep wave. But we might just see this game reset again. And of course, you say that with an Aegis still on Boris, but taking a look at buybacks, I think both teams are really feeling the weight of this game at this point, and all of that starts because they think that they can kill the puck immediately, get him without buyback, but unfortunately, it all just kind of falls apart for both sides again. So this Roche, it is the end-all be-all. It could be respawning in 3 minutes here. We'll have to see as this Aegis will expire, but I don't think there's any chance of Hokori fight over this bottom tier 2 tower. Of course, it does take a lot of setup from TOOBASED to actually get up on here, and Elmisho is playing on his ward, but feel like it'd be a little bit too crazy, but maybe.
Oh my god,
okay.
He wants it, Empyrean.
Oh, he got him.
Quick and easy kill. TOOBASED have to fall back. The Aegis is timed out. Elmisho, I mean, Jesus.
He got the ward.
That's a bit too far, or maybe not. He still has a force staff, but that's just too much damage. He will be taken down. Boris is able to get the kill, but you traded him for Empyrean. Of course, Empyrean has a buyback available, whereas the Tiny does not, but you've bought a little bit of time. And now, I mean,
well, here we
would
look.
like to save for buyback. That's going to be the issue here as Valkyrie makes the jump. They caught Gardic. There's going to be the back wall coming in, though. But I'm not sure they can really just turn this one around. Now, though, is looking for the fight, but there's going to be the disc coming out from Annihilate, resetting the fight. Another back wall, though, from Vitaly. He uses that recently finished off Refresher Orb, but it still just isn't enough. They're not able to take the fight. Vitaly now has to run away. He is going to be able to get out for now. And meanwhile, yeah, Annihilate, that's a little bit too far forward. Trying to get in onto Gardic, hoping for some sort of return kill. Instead, he runs into the Sven and Gardic, who will bring him down. So, honestly, without the death of Annihilate, that would have been a perfect fight. They pick off the two supports, they force a buyback, it's all good for them. And then the Void just gets that little bit greedy, and now they'll have to take a fight without him.
Yeah, and it's so sick from TOOBASED. They're going into Hokori territory, and you see how much Hokori actually see here, but they're playing around nighttime vision pretty much by itself, and oh, if only.
Will this be punished? The Nightmare's there, but they don't want the fight, especially if Boris isn't there. I think they absolutely can just go in, get the kill, and back out, but the Luna complicates things so significantly, and might just wait this out. Soul, that is very aggressive. It is a nice bit of damage onto Empyrean, but he's not quite able to get the solo kill, and that is going to push him back. But now you start to see Hokori reestablishing their vision in this east side jungle. For a very long time, this has been TOOBASED's domain. If they can put an end to that and honestly stop taking fights on their own side of the map, that would be a huge step in the right direction for them.
And with Roche possibly respawning in a minute here, that's where everything is going to refocus. In addition to that, all the buybacks are coming up. So we are going to see some crazy, messy, intense fight that TOOBASED, honestly, they're doing a good job. That's why they've really peeled off that area where they were fighting in pretty much solely before, giving it over to Hokori, because they know if they can control this hill, and Valkyrie is controlling the hill, he is the hill right now, and this outpost, that is Radiant advantage right there. There is no good way for Hokori to make their way over to the pit aside from a smoke, and you still have the racks on TOOBASED. You have that mid creep wave pressure. Someone always has to deal with that on the Hokori side. And 23 seconds. We'll see if it's an early Roche. Early Roche doesn't really benefit anyone. It'll still force Hokori to come over there regardless. But we'll have to see. If it respawns in a minute here, maybe with the DD rune spawning up top, could see this get a little bit crazy here. But this is the best Roche. This is all 4 items. You'd love that Ags on everyone on the TOOBASED side, to be honest. Maybe even give it over to Empyrean, and then suddenly we are in that endgame situation where maybe your Sven just dies without even popping his BKB.
About 2 extra minutes added on to that timer. So, not going to see the fight immediately, but both sides have to know now it should be coming. And take a look at some of the defensive itemization here. Boris picked up a Lincoln Sphere. Same scenario for Witch. He's got himself a Halberd as well. So, Hokori, you're going to have to be careful. This is where you really do need things like the Dream Coil and the Vac Wall combo to sort of lead you off. Because if Now is going in with the stun first, or you're trying to initiate with the Nightmare or the Fiend's Grip, you're just going to sort of run into that wall. They really do need that larger team fight initiation, otherwise things could break apart early. But they are looking for Widge first. Can they get the quick kill? Yes, they can. Now they're on to Boris. Normal punch coming in. They drop down the wall into the vacuum. Look at that damage coming out. They're getting through the Satanic. And Boris, okay, he has buyback, but they may very well need it, and that's actually the last buyback that they have at their disposal right now. Everything else is short on money or time, so buyback is committed. Hokori, though, do have to be a little bit careful. Sure, you got through Boris the once, but doing it again after you've expended pretty much all of your ammunition is not exactly a fight they want, but that's massive. They get Widge, they get the Luna, they force a buyback out, and all of a sudden the momentum has shifted. We talked about it the last time around. If Luna dies, TOOBASED, I don't know if they can even take the fight. Annihilate does a lot of damage, but I'm not sure if it would be enough for him to just single-handedly carry the team fight, as they've got the vision. They're in onto Soul. They get the glimpse onto the Bane as well. They too take Gardic down, but now he didn't have the BKB. He goes in for that. That just doesn't feel like the right decision for him, and he is going to pay pretty heavily for it. Without that magic immunity, that's just not a play that can be made. Now Vitaly, he may be in trouble as well. Can he somehow get himself out of this? The Surge is coming back up, but he's stuck inside the kinetic field, and they're actually just keeping him stun locked the whole time, so it's really not going to be enough to matter.
Vitaly will fall. Greedy. Way too greedy from Hokori. You can't get that kill bottom committing God Strength and walk over and take back the outpost. That's just a really smart smoke from TOOBASED, of course. The execution from Valkyrie there, and they are going to scout out the Roshan just a sec here, I think. Yep, he sees it. Momentum completely shifts in the other direction. Boris is going to have an Ags, possibly. Maybe give it over to Empyrean. We'll have to see how they value it, but it was way too greedy. They can't just march out, and it was something that Hokori did such a consistent good job with their vision previously. It's the entire reason why they get the kill on both Boris and Widge, is they very slowly but surely taking control over this bottom side of the map. Unfortunately, you get that greed. You go for that outpost top, you march right back where Boris and everyone else on TOOBASED have been playing for the past 5 minutes to set up for this Roche, and you kind of just throw it away.
They caught Soul.
Oh.
Can he somehow get away? Gonna jump to the orb. Widge, though, immediately on his heels, and that's just too much damage. Soul,
okay.
I mean, I know what he's trying to do, but to a certain extent, with this many heroes dead on your own side, I'm not really sure you can afford to be there unless they knew entirely where TOOBASED's heroes were positioned, and now this is staggered pretty heavily. Yeah, 80 seconds for the puck unless he's willing to commit that buyback, so I'm not sure you can just wait this one out, because Boris has an Aegis. They're looking to push. They've got 2 cheeses. They've got the Ags up on some of these heroes. They've got everything they need to really make this push in. And what do Hokori have at their disposal here? They do get the Darkseer back up in a few seconds. He does have the double Vac Wall combo, as well as potentially 4 Ion Shell charges, but by the time he's alive, really, they've already lost most of this top lane of racks. The Glyph is going to be used to try and hold what they have left. But without the puck, I still don't know if they can do this.
It's so scary, especially into that blind. If now has to use BKB early.
Stun comes in, no toss back yet. Elmisho just getting hammered away at. Didn't pop the BKB as he pushed in there either. That, well, that feels like a bit of a strange decision. They still get the toss, though, onto the Sand King. Into the vacuum. Valkyrie, though, gonna eat the cheese. Not dead yet. That's a weird burrow strike, but it is gonna keep him safe for now.
Man, they're really holding this puck buyback. They didn't get anything forced out of now. Now's been really patient. He did have to pop BKB, but I mean, you got Glyph on TOOBASED. If they force a fight where the tier 4s are dying, they need to jump on the Hokori side. And if they get that guaranteed kind of jump that Hokori have to do and then back out immediately, that kind of clean play could just guarantee TOOBASED at least the tier 4's dead. Elmisho needs to be so careful here. Okay, well,
try to catch him out. Silence, though, very well placed, so Empyrean can't get the glimpse just yet. And Hokori, well, they're trying to back away, but they're not going to make it out unscathed. Gardic is going to get hit up here. That Bane really doesn't have a lot of defense, but they do get down the parallel walls. Now, meanwhile, jumping onto Valkyrie, who tried to go all the way in alone. The Fiend's Grip is going to be there to lock him down. They could get this first kill fairly quickly, but now how do they deal with Annihilate? They'll hit him up with the Silence, but with Boris coming in, they need to be careful. The Normal Punch, though, does come in. They're going to drop a second set of walls here, so Boris just has to get himself out of here as quickly as he can, but while he does so, Annihilate gets hit up by that Dream Coil. They'll take him down. They'll drop Valkyrie as well. And Boris, he's just going to have to try and hold by himself, but the Vac pulls him back into the walls. Now comes in, looking for the damage. They've taken down the first line. Looking to set up for the second is Empyrean. Empyrean actually bought back. He'll die a second time. Annihilate's back in as well, though, with his own buybacks, and they are looking to turn this fight. Do Hokori have enough left in the tank? They're jumping in onto the Luna, but now quickly realizing that is not a fight he can win. He has to try and back away, using the work ride to get out. Elmisho, meanwhile, coming in, acting as the distraction. Soul comes in as well. They get the toss off onto the Luna, dropping her low. Do they have the damage to bring her down, though? Not just yet. The time lapse in from Widge saves the day.
No.
Hero play from Widge. Without that time lapse, Boris is so close to dead, and They might still be losing this fight. Annihilate's going to get hit up. Boris, though, turns around, picks off one. Gardic is dead. But they're running out of numbers at this point. Boris is really just turning into a one-man show. Gardic is going to try to get in behind him. Nightmare will be deployed. Now comes in with the Swift Blink, but they just need more damage. That time-lapse coming in once again. Widge just continues to be a nuisance here, acting as that support on the back line, just a pocket healer. And Boris, he's not giving up. He wants to push forward. They've taken down Gardic. They now get inside of the Static Storm. No BKB from that Sven.
Period.
They need to be able to take him down. Now dropped low, now taken down. No buyback available. He's dead for 2 minutes, and TOOBASED, they may have finally done it. The tier 4s will fall. The Ancient's been exposed, and ET, I mean, credit to Boris. He lasts for so long, but Widge straight up just won his team the game.
Oh my god. They did it.
Oh.
They won a game. They won a game of Dota 2. What a game. I cannot believe it. I mean, that was so good from them. That was with 9 buybacks, or whatever, 9 lives on Hokori side, 5 buybacks coming out from everyone. That was with absolutely everything thrown against the wall and nothing stuck. And that was just saying, if without God Strength, there is no way that we're going to lose this fight. There's no way this Sven can possibly do enough versus us. But the spell usage, everything just ended up working. I Annihilate, of course, he does end up getting clipped there by a bunch of the heroes after the fact. Misho, I think, found his way to get the kill on him after everything. But if he doesn't hit that Dissimulate stun, if he doesn't find that blind, if he doesn't find that time-lapse onto Boris, the game ends in so many different universes, and Hokori just win. They push down mid. The game's just over after they fix their waves. I cannot believe that TOOBASED, they did it. They survived through it all. And then suddenly they turn and now just can't do it. That was with a lot of, I think, messy and troublesome mistakes coming from TOOBASED along the way. But that last team fight, everything just kind of comes together and they win. I cannot believe it.
I mean, to a certain extent, it almost should not have worked. It just felt like in that final fight, TOOBASED were just kind of throwing bodies out there. You saw I Annihilate and Valkyrie in particular. They're just throwing themselves face first onto that backline. But eventually it works. Once the Sven's out of the picture, Hokori really do just hit a wall damage-wise, and no one else was able to step up. Even with the puck going for that right-click build, it just wasn't enough to see them through.
I mean, that looked so grim for TOOBASED. You had 3 walls down. You had so many Luna Illusions walking around, just feeling like they owned the place, but they somehow redirect that fight over onto the tier 3 tower, away from everything that Vitaly had placed. So now Vitaly's a non-factor in this team fight. And then when everything ends up becoming around both the puck and the Sven, unfortunately, you just don't have enough disables. You don't have enough stuns in the tank, and then suddenly everything just turns. I don't know. I think really, Boris, man, held down the fort for his team, 25-7 and 18. He is just the hero they needed. He's the one. He is the man. Level 30 Luna at the end of the day. I can't imagine what Game 3 is going to look like.
Yeah, a GPM of 929 for that Luna. So Boris farmed well, fought well, played incredibly efficiently, and helped lead his team to that win. So as you said, ET, we don't know what Game 3 is going to have in store. All we do know is that there will be a third game, and after a performance like that in Game 2, this series kind of does deserve to go the distance. So things reset. Hokori's early momentum gets wiped away. TOOBASED may be feeling confident after pulling off a bit of a comeback effort there in the back end of that game. So we'll see what Game 3 has in store, what adjustments we see from both teams, but that third game really shaping up to be a good one. So we are going to be stepping away for a little bit to recover from that game, and when we come back, it will be the third match of the series. Will it be TOOBASED or Hokori who advance on to round 2?